Hi, good morning and welcome. I'm glad so many of you could join us this morning to learn more about the exciting news of the grants that we've been given. So I'm going to dive right in. First of all, we've been awarded two grants totaling about $30,000 to support these outdoor initiatives that I'm going to explain to you today. They come from the Utah Division of Outdoor Recreation. The one that's in particular allocated for West Point is for an outdoor classroom, which will be built to the west of our new building. It will include a pollinator garden and herb garden, vegetable beds, and seating so that classrooms can do demonstrations and learning outside. The second one for our Highbury campus is called the UCORE grant, or Utah Children's Outdoor Recreation and Education Grant. And this grant in particular is designated for grades 4 through 8 for the program I'm about to describe. However, just so you know, in K through 3, we are going to be doing similar types of things in terms of more field lessons and more outside time. It just won't look quite as adventurous or quite as detailed as the program that I will lay out for grades 4 through 8. Before I go into the details of what this is going to look like for your children, though, I do want to give you a little bit of background about why we're doing this. So a year or so ago, almost 2 years ago, the board and the administration started to look pretty carefully at the research of Jonathan Haidt, who came out with a book in the last year or so called Anxious Generation. If you haven't read it, highly recommend it. If you'd like a summary, I'm going to share this slide, and it's got a link to this YouTube video, which is one of the things that we watched early on, where the psychologist Jonathan Haidt reviews some of the evidence that he's looked at on cell phone use, screen time, and the mental health of our young people. The evidence he presents is quite compelling. He calls it the great rewiring of childhood, where at the time that we were growing up, we spent a lot of time outside, a lot of free play, and a lot of that just changed as life was increasingly digitized in the 2000s and 2010s. And students went from an outdoor world with free play and a little bit of rough and tumble and a little bit of risk taking and the less supervised time to now being supervised a lot, being on devices a lot, and having much of their lives take place on a screen. And he says that this has caused an enormous shift in how our children's mental health is faring. So we looked at that research and we decided as a school with board support to change our policy back in the spring of 2024. We changed our policy so that we could be cell phone free bell to bell. Now we've been collecting a lot of data from teachers and from our families about the impact of this policy change, and it has been overwhelmingly positive. We've seen that it has increased our students' ability to focus. It's increased their likelihood to have social interaction, to play at recess time, at lunchtime. They're interacting more, and they're just less distracted during class and even during the times between class, more able to engage in the types of activities that we want them to be engaged in academically and socially. However, it's not just about a no. It's not just about saying you can't use your cell phones anymore. We also want to provide a yes. What are we replacing it with? What are we doing to fill this potential gap that's left when students give up these devices? So part of answering that question is going back to what we used to do. A lot of outdoor play and free play. So we started our Let Grow initiatives. We did our free range Fridays and our play clubs. And part of the reasoning of that is that there's been a big increase in anxiety in the last decade or so. And the antidote to anxiety is, when you think about it, it's not that surprising, but it's taking risk, because to take a risk and to succeed in overcoming fear, that's kind of the opposite of anxiety. It's showing that we can face these fears, that we don't have to let them cripple us. And that's been a part of our school culture that we've been building in the last couple of years, but we also want to take it a step further. So, inspired by this research, and also inspired by research I've been doing as I get my doctorate degree in education, I'm gonna tell you what we're doing. But let me just tell you a little bit about the research that I undertook over the summer. Just for a little bit of background, I traveled to Taiwan several years ago, and I noticed that it was a very clean country, not a lot of trash, and yet there weren't very many trash cans. In fact, I couldn't find a trash can to throw away this water bottle that I had, and I asked around, and eventually someone told me, "It's your trash. It's your responsibility. You take it home with you. You take it back to your hotel. It's not anyone else's responsibility." And I was pretty surprised by this response, and it got me really thinking about how have they created a country in which they've really adopted a mindset of stewardship and responsibility. The thing that's surprising about it too is that it wasn't always this way. in the 80s and early 90s, Taiwan had the nickname of Garbage Island. There was trash everywhere. There was a lot of litter in all public spaces in that country. So within 20, 30 years, they've really successfully caused a mindset shift, a shift in attitudes, behaviors, and even their very sense of morality. And that's what I went to Taiwan to study this over the last summer. I spent a lot of time in the schools. I accompanied them in lessons and on these field trips, trying to find out how are they doing this? What are they doing to shift students' attitudes and mindsets? And one of the really inspiring things that I learned is that they do a lot to cultivate the mindset of stewardship and to help students understand and appreciate their natural environment. So, as an example, this the picture that you're looking at here, this is at a school that's in a somewhat rural area, and there's this beautiful mountain stream that runs up near the school. And almost every school there has taken these initiatives to get kids outside of the school and into nature. In the case of this school, they do an activity called river tracing, which is basically hiking upstream these subtropical rivers. So I accompanied them, and in this photo, you can see them doing a little mini version of cliff jumping, kind of falling off the sides, and they worked their way up. But they did this risk taking, and they did these real compelling activities, and they made the investments that they needed to make these opportunities possible for their kids. They bought special river tracing footwear that they won't slip on the rocks. They, of course, have the life jackets, the helmets. They invested in the training of their educators. Another school that I visited is by this little fishing harbor, and they teach all of their students how to scuba dive. I was able to accompany their sixth graders on their culminating activity where they cleaned the harbor and then they scuba dived and received a certificate on the sea floor. And I was inspired by the ambition of these programs, and I thought, why don't we do more of that here? We live in Utah. People from around the world travel here to see this natural environment, and are we really maximizing that? Because not only is it uplifting and creates the sense of gratitude and stewardship, but it also can be part of this puzzle of mental health, of giving our kids these experiences where they can take risks. And so, with all of this research and this experience in mind, we wanted to design something special for our students. So, I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing grade through grade. And before I do that, just the goals of the program, they really are to reinforce curriculum. We're not trying to turn into a travel agency here. We're not trying to replace family vacations, but we do have responsibility to teach our students science and reading and writing. And there's some really compelling ways that we can do that by using our natural environment to achieve these curricular goals. So why not? But of course, there's a huge character education component. We want our kids to be resilient. We want them to practice perseverance, which is one of our core values. We want them to have cooperation and teamwork as they experience these things in the outdoors. We want to build our community and the kids' social skills. And there's uh, hardly a better way to do that than to have these really enriching and unique experiences together in the outdoors. And finally, there's an element of environmental education and stewardship that we hope to promote this sense of gratitude and responsibility among our students. So here's what it's going to look like. In fourth grade, we're going to do skiing. Photos here are from last year because we started this last year. We did one day of skiing where they got some small group lessons. At West Point, um, they went up to Snow Basin, and at Highbury, they went up to Park City. And that was just a phenomenal experience. We saw the kids really enact perseverance. You can maybe see in the background of that photo on the left a kid on the ground, and that was a common sight. Kids are falling down all the time, and they learn to pick themselves back up and keep going and try again. It's character education in action. And of course, the kids absolutely loved it. Um, Now, this year, we want to take it to the next level. Ski Utah was interested in piloting a program where it's not just a single day, because a single day is great, but it's not going to give the kids the real comfort and skill level to be proficient that we would like for them to have as a base to go from. So they wanted to work with us to pilot a multi-day program where we're going to send the kids 4 days over the course of about a month, once per week, for a couple of hours with instruction to really get more comfortable on the snow. At Highbury, we're fortunate to be able to do it during the school day at Park City. Unfortunately, they were not able to accommodate West Point during the school day. However, they are allowing us to do a special after-school program on early dismissal Wednesdays, which we're going to offer only for our fourth graders to begin with, so we can get as many fourth graders as we can up there, and then we'll open it up to fifth and sixth graders if we don't fill those slots with fourth graders. We will still try to do something during the school day, probably at Nordic Valley or another resort, so that all of our kids still have some experience on the snow and with skiing. But that's our fourth grade our first grade program as part of Monticello Outside. We want these kids to appreciate, to love nature, and to gain this comfort in the mountains, because that's going to lead to our fifth grade program, which is Snow School. We are partnering with the Wasatch Mountain Institute. They have access to a facility up in Big Cottonwood Canyon, right between Solitude and Brighton. It's a beautiful, incredible area where kids can go in depth into snow science. They're going to dig a snow pit. They're going to analyze the layers. They're going to learn about snowpack. And there's no better place in the world to do that than in the Cottonwood Canyons. This is one of the snowiest places on Earth, just a phenomenal place to learn and appreciate what we have here. This foundation in environmental science and the snow science is going to lead into sixth grade, where they're going to go kayaking, urban kayaking, in fact, on the Jordan River. We were already able to do this with our sixth graders at the Highbury campus, and it was just a phenomenal experience. Not only was it fun, but it was, again, an exercise in character and in perseverance and in learning how to steer the boat and paddle. And in addition to that, there was a really amazing science component where they're testing the water for different chemicals, turbidity. They're learning about urban runoff. They're learning, of course, about the next step of the snowpack science. This is the runoff. This is this unique system of basin and range and tributary system that we have in Utah. So what better way for the kids to learn about it than to experience it through kayaking on these tributary systems? In seventh grade, I don't have a real photo because we haven't done it yet, but we are going to do it this spring. We want to take our seventh graders, again, in partnership with the Wasatch Mountain Institute, to a facility that they have on the Wasatch Back called, actually, I don't know what it's called, but it's on the Jordanelle Reservoir. And it will be a field experience in environmental science where they'll actually get to stay overnight, learn how to camp, and learn some of the science about ecosystems. This is going to lead to what I am most excited about, which is an eighth grade capstone experience. We have developed a relationship with the Headwaters Ranch down in Boulder, Utah, over the last couple of years as we've been buying their grass-fed, grass-finished beef for our lunch program. And Haley Goslin, our nutrition director, connected me with the rancher to see if we might be able to take our students to the ranch. So we reached out to them a few months ago, and over fall break in October, I went down to scope this out to see what would it look like to take our eighth graders to the ranch. Um, the ranch owners were incredibly accommodating, and they're actually super excited to bring the students who they've been feeding for the last couple of years to see the ranch in person. We hope to be able to do some volunteer work on the ranch to give back, to give the students that experience. But then we also will camp there, and we will use it as our base of operations to do some just incredible activities. So on the left here is a picture from Headwaters Ranch. You can see the house through the trees, the ranch house there. We'll be able to rent that. Our chaperones will be able to stay there, and we'll be able to, use the kitchen facilities as needed. But in front of it is this beautiful meadow where our students will be able to camp. So they'll do some activities on the ranch. Just to give you a flavor of some of the things that we're planning. This ranch is managed in an environmentally sustainable manner, and the ranch owner has allowed beaver to recolonize parts of the ranch. They've created these dams. 150 beaver have moved into these ranch lands, and they have completely changed the ecosystem. They've created these ponds, which have brought in the fish, which have brought in the osprey, the willows. The revegetation is happening. It's just an incredible case study in ecosystems. So our students will be able to go there. They'll be able to see. You can see and hear the beaver and watch them from above. It's just an incredible place. In addition to those activities on the ranch, this is going to be a wonderful jumping off point for canyoneering, for hiking. On the right there, you see Lower Calf Creek Falls, which will be a wonderful hike we'll do. There's some slot canyons there that are just phenomenal that will present a challenge to our students, I think, an appropriate and fun challenge. There's night sky programs. The night sky there is incredible. We're going to bring in a ranger to bring in telescopes and to learn about astronomy. We'll also be able to tie it into our rich arts programs. There's visual art. There's actually a recording music studio, a professional grade recording studio. So we hope our students can prepare to do a kind of a capstone musical performance that we can record in this studio. Um, there's wilderness survival activities. It's just going to be an incredible opportunity for our students. We haven't finalized all the details, but we're looking at May 11th through 14th through the Highbury campus. And then that will be for next year at West Point, when our seventh graders move up, they'll be able to join this experience as well. So that is what we're looking at for our capstone. It's going to be a 4-day, 3-night experience that we're super excited about. So just to give you a couple of next actions for our fourth grade parents, if you haven't registered for the Ski Utah program, we'd love for you to do that as soon as possible. We got this grant information, which includes ski equipment. We're able to finally finalize this, but it is slightly late notice. So we'll need you to do that as soon as possible by Friday, if at all possible. Make sure that you register for the ski program. We'll resend out those links so that you have them. And then for eighth grade parents, this is our first time doing anything this ambitious. And so we really need your feedback in terms of um, what your concerns would be, how we can address those concerns. So look for a survey. We're going to send that out soon. Please fill that out so that we can prepare to have a really successful first experience with our eighth graders. I'm going to open it up for questions now. But again, thank you so much for coming. And if you want to check out, of course, you're free to. And we're so glad that you could join us. And we're really excited about doing these incredible activities and conducting this learning with your students over the coming months.